Hey guys, it's Coach Herb. Wanted to go over the notes from yesterday and just talk about uh, what we were discussing with the scientific revolution. And all of this is, in greater scale, something called the Enlightenment. And within the scientific revolution, you have a lot of changes in the way of thinking about the physical world. They start using reason and logic and theory testing, which will lead to modern science, which we'll talk about as well. And so, all this is due to the fact that the Renaissance taught them to uh, rethink or had a rebirth of learning that led to them questioning things, which led to the Reformation, questioning the Catholic Church. And then they had the age of exploration where they went out and explored, and they saw that the world was a little bit different than what they had been told. And so they started questioning even more. And so you get this scientific revolution through experimentation. They find new ideas and settle upon new solutions to the problems of the world. And so, we're talking about the same time periods, roughly about 1500 to 1800, and the old way of life kind of taught them that the church was right. I mean, everything pointed to that. The evidence around them, the Bible told them that, the church told them that, and then just go outside and see it. They believe the geocentric model that would be the case. The view that the earth is the center of the universe. And they would believe this because if you looked up, the sun moves around the earth. The stars move around the earth. You've never seen the earth move. And so this was the predominant theme during that time. The earth was a special place where life was unfolding. And so this is what people believed. But the math didn't make sense. The science didn't make sense. And that's where Nicholas Copernicus comes in. In 1492, he believed the earth was round, just like Columbus. And he believed that the earth was not the center of the universe. He believed the sun was. And that creates his heliocentric theory, breaks from the tradition of the old geocentric theory, and shows that the earth not only rotates around the sun, but it rotates on its own axis. Um, this was after 25 years of studying the planets and the stars and understanding this. Uh, the thing that we're really looking at today is the reaction to these things. And he was so afraid to publish his work because of the reaction the Catholic Church has to people questioning their thoughts. And so he would not publish his work, his book on the revolutions of heavenly bodies, until right before his death. He actually received a copy of the book on his deathbed, but never, you know, had any fanfare from it. While revolutionary, Copernicus' book caused a little stir at first, but his book was picked up by Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler, and they studied Copernicus and basically stated that he was correct, except for the fact that Copernicus believed that the orbits of the planets were in perfect circles. He believed in perfect beauty, and this Polish cleric of Copernicus was right, except for that regard. Um, Brahe, a Danish astronomer, would sit outside at night for many years using his observatory and mathematically prove that the planets revolve around the sun. Uh, Kepler, a German scientist that was Brahe's assistant, he did the same thing, and he took the work and actually um, made it accurate, used data, and uh, the problem was that they left their followers to make sense of the mathematics all their own. Um, but Kepler's laws of motion showed that Copernicus uh, was correct and that his basic ideas were true. And so, uh, he's credited with learning, about how the planets move and how they move in ellipses. As you can see on the screen, you have uh, the ellipse here right in the middle. and you can see it goes slower at some points and goes faster at some points. And so they grew this idea of Copernicus, and they were able to do so because they were Protestants. Copernicus wasn't able to really publish his work because he was a Catholic and he knew they would disagree with him. But Kepler knew that he had some freedom as a Protestant to publish his work. The next guy we talk about does not. Galileo Galilei was an Italian scientist who built his own telescope to study the heavenly bodies. He was very much into astronomy, and in 1610 he published a book called The Starry Messenger, which confirmed Copernicus's theory and also announced that moons orbit other planets. It's not just confirming Copernicus's theory, he's confirming that we're not the only thing that is orbited around here. Our moon orbits us, but we orbit the sun, and other moons orbit other planets. And so because he knew that his work was so controversial and revolutionary, he wanted to make sure that it was going to be published. So he went to Rome, and in 1632 he published a book under the permission of Pope Urban VIII. But he, under certain conditions, he had to discuss both sides of the theories of the universe. He had to discuss he could not promote Copernicus's theory, and he also had to include commentary from the Pope. Well, he does, and he makes the Pope sound very simple-minded and basically confirms the theory of Copernicus in this book. And in 1633, because he was so mad, Pope Urban VIII tried him for heresy. Now, again, how strongly are you convicted? How strongly do you fight when you know you're right? Well, the Catholic Church at the time was very powerful, and Galileo stood before court in 1633, and under the threat of torture, he knelt down before the cardinals and read aloud a signed confession, basically saying, with sincere heart and unpretended faith, I abjure, curse, and detest the aforesaid errors and heresies of Copernicus. So he basically took everything back. He recanted of his statements. His books were banned, and he had to live under house arrest for the rest of his life. And so it wasn't until 1992 that the Catholic Church officially recognized that Galileo was correct and that they had been wronged. And so he was never a free man again, and that was the risk that he had to pay for. Something else that he really established was something called the law of falling bodies, where he went to the Leaning Tower of Pisa and dropped two different objects. Now, they were different in size and weight, but they were not different in different objects in terms of density and things of that sort. So what he found out is that when you drop two objects that are the same density, even though their weights are different, their sizes are different, they fall at the same rate. And so these discoveries help build the ideas of modern physics. But again, what we're talking about today is the reactions to the world of the scientific revolution, that the people that were doing these things had to deal with the world not believing them, even though they were correct. I mean, we know they're correct now. And so these people had to deal with torture and shame and persecution because they thought differently and they questioned the old ideas. But what we're seeing is a movement that is leading to more and more change, and it's going to lead to massive changes down the road. Okay, make sure you do your assignment. It was the primary source document of Galileo's heresy trial, where you are reading the different indictment, where you were talking about what he was charged with and then what was his response. And then you have 9 questions to answer with it. Make sure you read everything, follow all the directions that are on the page, and then turn that into the tray at some point in time this week. If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.